The job of the news media is supposed to be to hold our institutions and our government accountable. And CBS has recently decided to take a new direction. As you guys may have heard, the new editor in chief over there, Bari Weiss from the Free Press, has been appointed after the merger with Skydance and CBS. And their new primetime anchor, Tony Dokoupil, has some interesting things to say about the future of CBS. Let's take a listen.
A lot has changed since the first person sat in this chair, but for me, the biggest difference is people do not trust us like they used to. And it's not just us, it's all of legacy media. And I get it. I get it because I've been hearing about it from just about everybody for more than 20 years as I've traveled America on this assignment or that. My mom's neighbors in West Virginia, my own neighbors in New York City, thousands and thousands of conversations in between. Sometimes people want to talk to me about our coverage of NAFTA or the Iraq War. Other times it's all about Hillary Clinton's emails or Russiagate. Or more recently, COVID lockdowns, Hunter Biden's laptop, or the president's fitness for office. The point is, on too many stories, the press has missed the story because we've taken into account the perspective of advocates and not the average American. Or we put too much weight in the analysis of academics or elites and not enough on you. And I know this because at certain points, I have been you. I have felt this way too. I felt like what I was seeing and hearing on the news didn't reflect what I was seeing and hearing in my own life, and that the most urgent questions simply weren't being asked. So here's my promise to you, today and every time you see me in this chair. You come first, not advertisers, not politicians, not corporate interests. And yes, that does include the corporate owners of CBS. I report for you, which means I tell you what I know, when I know it, and how I know it. And when I get it wrong, I'll tell you that too. It also means I'm going to talk to everybody and hold everyone in public life to the very same standard. After all, I became a journalist to talk to people. I love talking to people about what works in this country, what doesn't, and not only what should change, but the good ideas that should never change. I think telling the truth is one of them. I'm Tony Dokoupil, the anchor of the CBS Evening News. Hold me to it.
There's something really Orwellian about a news anchor staring into the camera, leaning in, and telling me that they're for me. I think that's supposed to be agreed, that's supposed to be known and understood. For an anchor to be saying that is kind of weird to me, like that has to be established. That was his announcement from January 1st, so just about a week ago. Let me play you guys a clip of his coverage since then of Marco Rubio.
Only in America, the many lives and many jobs of Marco Rubio, the son of Cuban immigrants and a former Florida senator. He's now the face of U.S. foreign policy and President Trump's point man on Venezuela, all in addition to his roles as Secretary of State, interim national security advisor, and acting national archivist and USAID chief. Whatever you think of his politics, you got to admit it's an impressive resume. And now AI memes have added to that portfolio, casting Secretary Rubio as the new governor of Minnesota, the new Shah of Iran, the Prime Minister of Greenland, the new manager of Manchester United, the head of Hilton Hotels, and highest of high honors of all, the new Michelin Man. Now, back in real life, of course, these memes may not add up to much, but for Rubio's hometown fans, which are many around here in Miami, it is a sign of how Florida, once an American punchline, has become a leader on the world stage. Marco Rubio, we salute you. You're the ultimate Florida man.
Here is Tony, a brief clip of him covering the insurrection of January 6th.
Also tonight, 5 years after the January 6th attack, a group of pardoned defendants marched through Washington. President Trump today accused Democrats of failing to prevent the attack on the Capitol, while House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries accused the president of, quote, whitewashing it.
So the architect behind the Venezuelan operation, the bombing of the boats in the Caribbean, the kidnapping of a foreign sovereign leader, we salute you. That's the kind of media accountability we're talking about here. And you're the ultimate Florida man. What are we even doing here, Mike? This is the new CBS approach to coverage of this administration. Not to mention the two pathetic quotes that they used to talk about January 6th. Trump said that the Democrats failed to prevent the insurrection. What are we doing here, Mike?
Yeah, I don't really have a problem with him listing everything that Marco Rubio accomplished. He has done a lot, and he has come a long way in politics. But I do think there is something strange about, supposed free press saying we salute you to a state official. It gives kind of that North Korea vibe a bit. And again, CBS has been under new direction now, under Bari Weiss. So we're seeing more and more of these kinds of changes in CBS, and it's starting to look a lot more like Fox News and Newsmax and follow that kind of model of just agreeing with the state. And I think that it's also important to highlight, in my opinion, the use of the AI that this guy Tony was sort of making light of, and the fact that this is like in the news. Look, people on the internet are making him, the leader of Iran and the leader of Greenland and the Michelin man. Haha. Like, to me, this downplays the severity of what that is, because Marco Rubio is essentially the leader of Venezuela at the moment because they're staying in power. Now, I know that they're trying to put it on the new VP and all that, but as you mentioned, he orchestrated this attack. So to say that he's now the leader of Iran or the leader of Greenland and all this, even as a joke, saying it as a joke is one thing, but to put it out there on national TV while simultaneously saying we salute you, it creates this narrative that it's okay to think about Marco Rubio, or it's a joke to think of him as the leader of another country, even though that's literally what we're doing. So there's some disingenuousness there, I believe. Even though it's something small, it's this should be a joke. It should be something funny, but it's hard to take it as a joke when we're literally doing that. And I think to downplay that is disingenuous and hurtful. And as you mentioned, the whole thing about January 6th and how they're saying, oh, well, Trump said the Democrats failed to protect it. And then Hakeem just said, oh, they're whitewashing it and leaving it at that. There's no follow-up. There's no nothing. There's not even a clarification about what happened on January 6th. I think all of that's a little alarming because, as he mentioned earlier in that first segment that we showed, he says, oh, I'm asked about all these things like Hunter Biden's laptop or Hillary's emails or, the president's fitness, which I believe he was referring to Biden's fitness at the time because he's listing a lot of things that people have been asking him about that's not covered by the news. And it's like, sure, the news isn't necessarily covering those things, but there's a lot of misinformation around those things. So those stories take time to develop and get facts on the table to where they can be talked about on the news. And B, if you want to talk about the news not talking about things, why is there no mention of Gaza? Our news has failed us miserably on the coverage of the genocide going on in Gaza. So it's very double standardish, and it seems like more of the same, but from a different slant. And this is why I agree with you that it is very Orwellian to hear, oh, I'm here for you, but then also be fed this slant. I understand, the reason why they say this is because they feel like they need to clarify because people don't trust the media. But if you want to be trusted, just do trustworthy stuff. You don't have to say it. You don't have to tell me up front. If anything, that makes it worse because now when you don't, now you're also like a hypocrite on top of it. So he said we need to hold him to it. Personally, I would love to know how to get in touch with this man and like how well can he really be held accountable? Will they ever apologize for something that they put out that would be false? And another big thing to highlight too is how he talks about moving away from academics and elites and experts. I think that's pretty concerning because the whole reason academics and elites are important is because of their expertise. They know what they're talking about. Now, granted, obviously, not every expert's going to be perfect. Some are more qualified than others, and some are biased and whatnot. Sure, all of that is true. But to just openly state that we're going to move away from this and we're going to focus on you, I think is a problem. Because if that's true, then, flat earthers would be getting their opinions on national television, even though it's widely debunked. And this promotion of just like fringe ideas or conspiracy theories it has no room in the world of truth, unless it's confirmed as fact. You shouldn't be talking about it. This is the entire reason why the media has the bad rep that it has, is because they jump out ahead of stories and they say things before they know the facts. So now if we're just going to move away from people that can present us with facts, not only does that misinform the public, but it also puts the responsibility of fact checking and expertise on the individual. It puts it on us, the viewer, because now they're going to say, look, here's an idiot and here's somebody else. You decide, when they could just spare us the idiot and say, here's what it is. So now the responsibility is on us, which technically it should always be on us, but it's making it harder. They're muddying the waters. And this is the problem, because it gets a lot harder to have coherent, reality-based opinions, because you're just not living in reality at that point, because you're legitimizing things that should not be legitimate. And I think that's something where he mentioned about how people are not seeing the news reflected in their daily life. And I think this is a big part of why, because Fox News in particular and Newsmax and whatnot, they drum up all this fear and this mongering of like, hey, these people are out to get you. The left is out to murder you. The left is murderous. When statistically speaking, that is beyond false. That narrative is false. But to push it and to just say, hey, we're just asking questions or we're just presenting both sides, I think is dangerous. I've been a pretty hardcore centrist most of my life, and I'm always a big fan of devil's advocate. But I think that time is sort of changing here, because with Trump has moved us so far to the right that now if you're left of that, you're still centered, So if you really even want to be leftist, you got to go even further left, so to speak. And I think that's to not recognize that the spectrum has shifted completely to the right. Like MAGA is not the same as like the Bush era Republicans. They are far more right than Bush era. And that's why with Kamala Harris, her campaign was basically a Bush campaign. So, and she's leftist, and they were calling her a communist and all these other things. So it's crazy. Anyway, my point of all this is just to say that to intentionally put a wedge in this creates room for these false narratives to be built, to be constructed, and to flourish, and to not even be debunked. And if you're going to present it as, hey, I'm just presenting both sides, this is what both sides say, I understand there's value in that, but when one side is full of shit and you don't call it out and you simply say, I'm just presenting what they say, it's legitimizing what they say. So this is the Kellyanne Conway thing of alternative facts, and it's looking a lot like state media to me, given that they're over here saluting state officials and proudly proclaiming that we're going to be moving away from expert opinion.
Yeah, I couldn't help but think about 4chan as you were describing what their new approach could look like, where they just bring on any old idiot and conspiracy theorist to weigh in their opinion, bring some other guy or gal to weigh in their opinion. And well, there it is. We'll leave it up for you to decide. That's what the internet's for. That's what Reddit is for. That's what 4chan, that's what X is for. That's where we have the debates. News media is supposed to give us the closest thing that they know at the time of the truth to us, and then revise and as new information comes out, give us more, or if they got something wrong, to go back and tell us they got something. That's their goal. We're not supposed to be having all opinions on all sides on news media. We're supposed to have the closest thing to the truth. So I think what they're doing here is you can really feel the Trump effect of their new direction, because Trump, his whole model of success in politics is to gaslight and to just say whatever he thinks people want to hear, to speak out of both sides of his mouth. And it sounds like CBS saw that and they're like, ooh, we should do that too. And maybe they'll like us. Maybe they'll approve of us. But at the end of the day, CBS's new owner is the son of Larry Ellison, who is a big Trump supporter and fundraiser and all that stuff. So, it's the direction that they're going it's no surprise to anyone who's actually following the money here.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a great point about, maybe they'll like us, but the they that they're referring to, at least in my assumption here, is not the American people. It's the state. We want Trump and his administration to like us because we've seen what happens to CNN and these other companies that don't. They get sued. So if we play along and we play nice, maybe they'll like us. Maybe they'll let us get some access that we don't have otherwise or something. And it's all just bending the knee, kissing the ring, and more of the same.
And let's end on this. I want to show you guys an interview that CBS conducted with Tony, with this new primetime anchor. And let's take a look.
You said this is your favorite place in the world. Why? Why South Florida and Miami?
Well, it makes me emotional. It's so funny. I didn't think it would catch it. Because you only have one childhood, right? So, let me get a second here.
No, you're okay. I can relate. This is home.
People will to help people understand why I have such a reaction. Florida is where I grew up. We didn't get a lot of sleep. So.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, my grandmother's here, my father, my mother, my aunts and uncles, cousins, and it's where I would have spent all of my childhood, but we left. Because of my father, he got in some trouble with business. It's like, we laugh about it now, but he was a drug dealer. But he was a drug dealer, he went to jail. It's kind of a ha-ha thing that we say now, but the reason it's so emotional for me is because I feel like I was robbed of the full Miami experience. Mm-hmm. So when I come back, I'm always like,
think of what could have been.
I really love it here, yeah.
But it changed the trajectory of your life. You may not be back here today had you stayed here in the first place. You
people
never
are gonna
know.
think this is so crazy, but this should have been my home for the whole stretch, right? Mm-hmm. So to have it and then to lose it, it just kind of rocks me. So I didn't expect to feel that, but whenever I'm here, it really does feel deeply like home, and I wish it had stayed home,
So this segment here, I don't think there's anything good about it. I don't think there's anything bad about it. It's a pretty neutral story, right? It's him talking about his own upbringing. But I think what's important to kind of highlight here is that this is a bit bizarre. He's wiping away tears. There's no tears in his eyes. He's not really crying. He seems to be getting choked up. And that thing where he leans forward and kind of grabs her, I mean, to me, that feels like some sort of weird NLP kind of thing. It's you just don't see this behavior when people are kind of talking about these kinds of topics. And to also say, oh, my dad was a drug dealer, and we kind of laugh about it now. That's another kind of well, that's odd, but hey, that's your family. That's his upbringing. So, this is a personal story to him. So I'm not here to say, oh, well, he's doing it wrong or he's doing it right or whatever. That's not the point. I think the reason why this clip is sort of good to talk about is because it highlights he appears to be doing theater. It seems very simple that he seems to be acting here or to be putting on this front of some sort to embellish the story instead of just talking about it for what it was. He's trying to make it more than what it is. And that, I think, is an alarming thing when you have somebody representing the news.